let's talk about teams, right? Because this is what really scales. But I think when you're going into this level, you have to you want to invest in learning how to lead, right? Leadership development.
Yeah.
And this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't know about leading. They're really good at doing, but not as great at leading.
Yeah.
And in order for you to scale your time, you have to learn how to lead other people. And I can tell you that right now, currently in my marketing agency, I have 5 subcontractors that I work with that help me with some of my projects. Literally, I usually start my day by sending them their tasks. So, and these are like full-time workers, right? That are devoted to working with my agency. So, in 1 hour of work, in 1 hour of just sending out tasks for the various clients that we work with, I'm literally getting there. If you combine all of their hours, that's 40 hours of work that pretty much that I'm doing in just that 1 hour of sending
Yeah.
them their tasks. But it took time to get to that place because I had to learn how to maximize their time. I had to learn what their skills were, what they were able to do, what they weren't able to do. And I had to learn so many different things about my team in order for me to get to the point where now I could spend an hour just sending them tasks, and then I'm able to basically work through them. In a lot of cases, after that hour is done, if I wanted to, I could stop working for the rest of that day
Yeah.
because I'm literally just working through them. Like they know what they're supposed to do, and all I would have to do is check in and sometimes just receive from them and send it to a client. But it takes time in order to get to that place and ensuring that you have the right tools. So at one point, I was communicating to all of them through WhatsApp. Right. So like we just got one long WhatsApp stream and emails where we're constantly going back to email, WhatsApp, and it was really unorganized. And that's when we transitioned to Slack. So there are times when you have to
Try
constantly
it, fail, and find something better.
and doing all of that, but you have to be able to like also find people with certain skill sets. So understanding, like being able to test out different what they're able to do, learn what their usual turnaround time. There's a lot to managing a team, but if you learn how to do that, you're going to be able to accomplish so much more. And when you go into these sales conversations, you're going to have a lot more confidence because one, you have a portfolio that you can turn around that your team has done. And also, you know that you have people who are capable of giving them the results that they're looking for.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main blessings, and the reason I would not be able to scale to the point where my agency is at now if I didn't have a team. There's no
So
way.
when you went to add a member to your team, what was your first addition, and how did you decide that this was the person? What were some things that you went through to determine, hey, this is the type of person, and some of your mistakes, if there were any.
Oh my gosh, I have a bunch of train wrecks in terms of mistakes. One thing that I did, and I work with a lot of people who are overseas, so I don't work like directly in America, just because again you could find better labor and it's way less expensive if you go overseas. But learning, so there's places you can go like Upwork, and you can go to onlinejobs.ph and other places to find really, really quality people who can help you with your work. But I can say a few things that I learned in terms of like kind of developing the team is when I just go out and try to find somebody on my own, usually they didn't work out very well. The people who stuck and actually did a really good job were those that were referrals from other people.
Okay.
So
So
that
who was the person that you found that gave you the good referrals? Who was
so
your
I had
first good hire?
so I
And how
had
did that happen?
a rock star web designer and like just a VA in general. She came on, I think, really early into my agency's beginnings, probably a year in, I was able to find her. And the thing that was interesting about this hire was her background was not in web design. She was just more of a general VA, but she had a science background, so she was very smart. So I think a lot of times finding someone, one, that really believed in the vision. So like I do a lot of work for churches. So she had a heavy faith background. So she really connected with the vision, which I think was really important. So she saw it as an extension to ministry as opposed to simply just another job.
Okay.
So it allowed, so, but she was also very teachable. And I think that that's something that is very important. Like, just because maybe they don't have that background, a lot of times they're going to figure it out just because they're able to learn and they're able to learn fast. So she ended up bringing on a video and graphic designer who is amazing. Like she is a rock star, but it was a referral that she made. So when I go, so what I do now, as opposed to like going on Upwork or going on online jobs.ph, is I literally only work through my current team. So I say, hey, we need this type of person. Can you help me find them? Do you know
Okay.
anybody that you've worked with or something? Because especially if they're really good at what they do, they understand the level of skill
Yeah.
that is needed in order to do the job. So they're able to find and recruit and then bring them in. And then a lot of times I say, hey, I'm going to give you the work and then you just delegate whatever you can't do in this particular time frame. So I actually have them manage their teammates. So it's a lot less on me. I actually kind of give it to them. But those are the things I've learned is it's a lot easier to just find people that your team already knows, especially if you find a good hire, like just they know who works like them.
Birds of a
So
feather.
exactly. So working through them, those things have really just skyrocketed in terms of just finding the right people and then building the right culture because too they're gonna have to work together on a lot of things. So you want I've had, you know, virtual assistants who, you know, don't get along with each other and they don't like each other.
Yeah, synergy is definitely important.
So that like having those, because there's going to be times where one person they have something personal come up and they can't finish a particular task, they got to know that they have teammates that can help them if that happens.
Yeah,
So being able to have that synergy is going to be really important if you want to scale. So those are the things that I've kind of learned.
that's a real blessing. My journey in hiring virtual has been disastrous,
Most people.
and I have stopped. I've spent thousands on virtual assistants or in some way of another. Everything from fielding calls to making outbound calls, and I still get calls at least once a week of someone calling, offering their VA or offering their services. And I just wasn't fortunate enough to find someone who took ownership. And I'll put it on myself as well, because at that time I was really working in my business a lot more than I am now.
Yeah.
So I only had a few hours to train you. Okay, this is what I need. These are the scripts, and then let you run with it because you're coming to me telling me you already have experience.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the case because the conversions, if you can't convert at a 2% conversion rate, then you need more experience. So yeah, so that has been my journey in hiring virtual assistants overseas. What I did have success in is hiring a transaction coordinator, and God bless her from here to the kingdom come. Like once something hits, and I've mandated all my agents use her and her team for our transactions because she makes sure that everything is up to the standard that it needs to be for compliance purposes. All the paperwork is in, all the paperwork is signed. So once the property is under contract, she takes it over. She sends out updates about the timelines, all that good stuff. So yeah, she's been wonderful, and I've seen her level up in her business where she was the one that I was emailing and texting and calling, to now she has a team of I think 3 or 4 girls who handle all her files, and she
Mm-hmm.
just manages them. And I'm like, that is amazing. That's wonderful to watch both of our businesses grow. And so that was the hire that brought me the most success, because now I didn't have to track paperwork anymore. I
Right.
could delegate that to somebody else that I knew took pride in doing that, and I could, service my customers better. And if I'm in a meeting or I'm in a showing and one of my customers calls about something, I have one of my quick reply text messages is to reach out to her and her team to
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, if this can't wait or you need an answer, feel free to reach out to her. And they would do that, and she'd be able to tell them, okay, this is where things stand, give them a quick overview of where things are in the transaction. And then I could double back later on in the day or whenever I'm free on a drive to somewhere else, just to touch base and say, hey, did you get the answer from her? And most of the time it's yes, we're good, and then I'd reiterate whatever they needed. So that was a blessing of a hire, and she was local. She
Mm-hmm.
wasn't overseas, just because of the industry that I'm in. She's licensed, so there's a lot of red tape that I didn't have to go over, but that was the best blessing. And she got paid on a per transaction basis,
Right.
and that's why I was able to pay her on a per transaction basis, because she was licensed, and it just made my transactions a lot smoother, and my client experience was a lot better.
The one good hire can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yeah,
in your business.
yeah,
Like I could say that the designer that my first VA recommended, her work was so good. It caused it allowed me for me to bring on so many new clients because of the portfolio we've been able to develop.
yeah,
So when you find that, like, you find the right talent and you steward that relationship properly, it could be the difference between just, barely making it to really, scaling in the high six figures. So it's worth the time in finding it. And I think even failing, like I've had VAs even up till this week that haven't worked out, right? They're constantly, this one particular person is constantly reaching out to me. Hey, I had to let her go like a couple weeks ago. And she's constantly letting me, like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. I hope everything's good. I'm like, listen, I had to tell her yesterday. I'm like, listen, don't keep messaging me. Right? Like, I already know what you're capable of doing.
it's not
So if
me, it's
I
you.
so if I see something that comes that I really feel like you'd be a good fit for, then I'll let you know. But it's not going to work just because you're constantly contacting me. And like there's a difference between people who are just looking for a paycheck and
Yeah,
actually are capable of doing what it is that what you're needing, what's
yeah,
necessary. And I think finding those people, stewarding those relationships well, finding the right system to function is what's going to allow those things to work. This was a good episode, man. We talked about
appreciate it.
time management, we talked about tools, we talked about teams. Any last thoughts before before we wrap it up?
Hey, time is your most precious commodity. Protect it at all costs.
Couldn't say it better myself. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Remember, no matter where you are on your journey, there's always opportunities to learn, grow, and level up. We want to thank today's sponsors, um, Next Level Media Marketing, my agency, Curb and Key Realty, his Leo's real estate company, for their support in making this episode happen. Our business allows us to do this
Yeah,
episode. We thank them so much for their kindness.
our clients, man, appreciate y'all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Remember, no matter where you are in your journey, there's always opportunities to learn, grow, and level up. Until next time, peace.
Peace.